Kellen the Builder. Can he fix it? Kellen the Builder. Yes, he can. Kellen Moore. It's no mystery that he had the tall task this offseason of having to start the rebuild for the New Orleans Saints. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing all of the moves that Kellen Moore has made to rebuild the offense. And if you guys enjoy this video, we'll also take a look at the defensive side of the ball in a future video. But I want to just kind of rehash all of the things that have happened around the offensive side of the football. Here are the biggest moves and the main things that happened. Obviously, Derek Carr retired. That shook the NFL world by storm. The Saints drafted Shuck in round 2 of the 2025 NFL draft. They brought back Juwan Johnson. They signed Brandin Cooks, as well as made a handful of other moves throughout free agency, brought in a handful of undrafted free agents as well. And then, of course, they drafted Moliki Matavao in the 7th round, Devin Neal in round 6. There's been a lot of movement in the roster because Kellen Moore had to create an overhaul for this roster. So what is your favorite move that the Saints have made this offseason? It also could be a defensive player. If you want to say signing Justin Reed, I will not blame you whatsoever because that's personally one of my favorites. But offensively, I want to just get your thoughts, and I want to hear what you got to say. I think right now, Kellen Moore, as it stands, has done a really, really good job of rebuilding the Saints' offense so far. It's no mystery he's not done yet. I'm not going to sit and say the Saints have fully done their rebuild. It's not done yet. They still have more work to do. This is also a rebuild that was never going to just be finished this offseason. So I really think that this time next year, this will be a really interesting conversation, not just to revisit, but to take an updated look at. And in terms of, what they could do next, I mean, right now, immediately, they need to sign a big-bodied wide receiver. I don't think going and making a big trade really makes much sense. I don't think that you absolutely need to go and invest in any other position on the offensive side of the football. Honestly, I think you maybe can get away with also adding another cornerback, but again, I'm sticking on the offensive side of the football. I think a big-bodied wide receiver such as a Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper could make some sense. I know DJ Chark is also available. Gabe Davis, he had a visit with the New Orleans Saints. So those are some potential options. And honestly, I'm just really, really eager to see how this team will look this time next year. I said it a minute ago. It's because I think that after you have the second draft and after you have the second set of free agency moves and you have some trades happen and you have some players retire, I think this roster will look entirely different. The overhaul would be complete this time next year, at least in my personal opinion. I'm eager to see which players end up retiring, which players get invested in for the future. Does Trevor Penning pan out as the left guard? What happens at the wide receiver position? Do you go and draft a quarterback again? There's a lot of question marks for this roster moving forward. And I'm just eager to see what happens for the future. The rebuild, obviously, it is fully going on. It has been evident by the moves that have been happening. The Saints are not necessarily kicking the can down the road anymore, and they are starting to finally fix all of the problems that have been piling up over the last few years. So now coming up, I want to talk about my favorite moves that the Saints have made on offense because, like I said, the rebuild has been off to a really strong start. There's still things that need to be done, but I think the rebuild has been really solid thus far. The foundation, if you will, very strong. The first thing that I really loved that happened this offseason, my favorite move, and this has nothing to do with the human being. It has everything to do with I'm just glad that we don't have an old, injury-prone, expensive quarterback. This could have been Derek Carr. This could have been Kirk Cousins. This could be literally any player. The name doesn't matter. I am just so happy that Derek Carr retired. And in case you didn't know, this was actually a move that saved money for the New Orleans Saints. Funny enough, whenever he retired, it saved the Saints $30 million. They still paid him $10 million in the roster bonus, but the Saints were able to recoup more money than they originally anticipated they would be able to with Derek Carr. Obviously, all roads were pointing to Carr being the starting quarterback this year. However, he retired. And despite the Saints drafting Shuck 40th overall, despite the Saints having Spencer Rattler on the roster, Derek Carr, it was still viewed as the starter going into week 1. Then we saw the injury to his shoulder pop up. He then eventually medically retired. And look, it was a shocking move for what it's worth. I think everyone was very surprised that it happened. That being said, I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you, Derek Carr, for the money back. Thank you for retiring. Thank you for the fun moments. Thank you for the Cowboys game. That was a lot of fun. But also thank you for not being my quarterback anymore. I'm ready for the future. I'm ready to get younger. I'm ready to really build something because Derek Carr was never a permanent answer. He was just a guy that could potentially extend the success that was created by Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and then into the Dennis Allen and Jameis Winston and then Andy Dalton. They just kind of tried to extend it. It just didn't work. Now, another move that I really liked was the Saints re-signing Juwan Johnson. This was a really smart move, and this was a smart decision. And I think that this decision by Kellen Moore highlights and possibly actually takes a look at and hints towards the importance of Juwan Johnson in this offense under Kellen Moore. He signed a 3-year, $30.75 million contract, and a lot of people freaked out. They're like, why are you paying Juwan Johnson $10.25 million a year? I'm here to tell you right now, it's actually 12th in annual average value or average annual value across all tight end contracts in the National Football League. It's pretty fair money, I would say. If you can honestly get him to be a consistent, high-producing player. You don't need 1,000 yards from him, but you can get 700-800 yards out of this guy year in and year out. I think that is a really, really nice role for him. It's a really nice production in terms of getting value back on that contract, and I think that he can be used as a tight end wide receiver hybrid. If you remember back at his time in college, he was a wide receiver, and then he transitioned to the tight end position after being signed as an undrafted free agent by the New Orleans Saints. And with him, it's just been an inconsistency play. That's been the big theme for him. He has had good moments. He is the largest pass catcher on the Saints roster. So for that reason, I do have high expectations for Kellen Moore using Juwan Johnson because of how highlighted tight ends have been utilized in Kellen Moore's offenses previously. And did you know that the New Orleans Saints actually saved money by bringing back Chase Young and Juwan Johnson? I understand that the contracts that they got may have been more lucrative than you at home would have paid these players. However, these are also contracts that ultimately saved money for the New Orleans Saints this year, and those were moves that helped the Saints get to cap compliance this year in order to be able to be cap compliant. And look, I also know that Kellen Moore, like I mentioned, gets tight ends very involved. Look back at the times when he was a play caller for the Dallas Cowboys, the times that he was a play caller for the Los Angeles Chargers. Look back last year at the Philadelphia Eagles. Tight ends were heavily featured in those offenses, and Juwan Johnson is a very nice receiving threat. I think that he's an underrated tight end, and if his development can really turn into he's a dominant pass-catching tight end with also pretty solid extra abilities that the tight end role comes with, I think that this is a really good spot for him. And also for what it's worth, Kellen Moore personally called and was like, I want you back at a late night phone call. So I have a hard time believing Juwan Johnson won't be heavily featured, which is why I'm going to be taking the over on this one. 700 receiving yards for Juwan Johnson. That would be the highest of his career. I'm personally taking the over, but what about you? Over or under? I want to hear from you in the comment section. My third favorite move that the Saints did this offseason to rebuild the offense was drafting Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas. This guy is Mr. Consistency. Through the last 3 seasons, he's had over 1,000 yards each year. He is also the all-time leading rusher for the Kansas Jayhawks, which is pretty cool. He does have receiving back capabilities. I think that there is some development that needs to come with this player, but I am excited about the future here. And also, I feel like Devin Neal's in a really good situation where you are competing for the role to have some high-level or high-volume reps with Kendre Miller being the running back too. There's question marks around him. You don't know whether or not he's going to be available. You also do know with Devin Neal, though, that he has been a consistent quality running back, drafted in the 6th round. I think that's an absolute steal. He's a workhorse type of player. He has really nice power, really good vision. He's a patient running back. And on top of that, he has been a very, very productive player. And the big thing that's been highlighted about him is his leadership qualities. The New Orleans Saints have been adding a lot of players this year that have strong leadership qualities. So you can tell that rebuilding the culture and creating a strong culture is definitely something that Kellen Moore has been focusing on. A lot of the draft picks the Saints took, all very strong leaders. They were praised for those qualities. Devin Neal is not an exception. And look, I understand that people can be frustrated with how Kendre Miller's career has gone thus far. Tajay Spears was right in our laps, and you could have had the Louisiana kid. However, The New Orleans Saints opted to go with the TCU product, and Kendre Miller has just not been able to stay on the field. There's been questions around his injury history. There's been questions around his preparation. But if Kendre Miller can take advantage of this clean slate that has been laid out by Kellen Moore, I firmly believe him and Devin Neal could be a really nice running back duo for the foreseeable future. I think that that's a strong crew because they both have really nice running back skills and they both bring really nice qualities to the offense. But I just want to see which one of these two guys is going to separate themselves as the lead back and which one of these guys is going to be better in the support role. It's up to them to figure it out. I have very high expectations and high hopes for both of these players. And Devin Neal, I think, was an absolute massive steal. I honestly think in a few years we're going to look back and be like, how in the hell did we get him in round 6? Now, I have a challenge for you, Saints fans. If you're still rocking and rolling with us about 11 minutes into this video, I want to just give you guys this challenge. My girlfriend, Maddie, she told me, she was like, look, Trizzy, you look so good in the mustache. And I told her, okay, maybe I'll shave. Maybe I'll get rid of the beard. Maybe I'll go just the summer stash this year. So I'm going to make a deal with you. If we get $50 subscribers on this video, 100% free, all you have to do is hit the big red sub button and you lock it in. If we get 50 subs on this video, I will shave my beard live on YouTube and I'll rock the stash all summer long. I mean, look how good that looks. Cowboy hat with the stash. Come on. That's a great look for old Triz. So let's keep this conversation going. Devin Neal was the last guy we talked about. Love that draft pick. But I also think that Tyler Shuck was a really, really good selection as well. Tyler Shuck, it was a heavily invested player in round 2, 40th overall by the New Orleans Saints. It shows to me that they viewed this position as a need. It shows to me that they were high on this player, and he has been impressive this summer. And look, there's no question about it. There's some quality quarterbacks coming out into the draft next year, in the following year. But the Saints said, I don't want to wait. Kellen Moore said, I like Tyler Shuck, and we're going to tell you why he liked Tyler Shuck in a moment. But really quick, we got to keep you guys in the know. I went and looked at the products this morning. This one, very, very limited stock. I've told you before, and this is probably the last time I'm going to be able to tell you, you got to go and get this hoodie. Chatsports.com/Saints hoodie sale. The summer is the time to buy hoodies because they're going to be so cheap. $40 with an all said and done for a Nike hoodie that players and coaches were wearing on the sideline. Are you kidding me? Link is clickable in the comments and description, or you can just search chatsports.com/Saints hoodie sale. Go get yourself some new swag. Like I said, Kellen Moore handpicked Tyler Shuck, and I also think with Kellen Moore, he handpicked Tyler Shuck for a reason. I think that Kellen Moore had a vision for the type of quarterback he wanted. I think Kellen Moore had an idea and had a plan in place of what he wants his quarterback to be capable of doing. And the positives around Tyler Shuck, I think, are an indication of what Kellen Moore is looking for. The size that Tyler Shuck has is very, very different than Spencer Rattler. Rattler's a lot smaller than Tyler Shuck, but at 6'5", 219 pounds, he has a really nice arm that has, honestly, a beautiful, a very underrated and beautiful deep pass. His arm has flexibility. He can release at various different angles. He has a quick and clean release when you mention that aspect of his game. The footwork is pretty polished in the pocket. There's accuracy at all 3 levels. He has nice touch. He has the ability to not just hit you on the outside, but also on the inside in between the hashes. At practices and throughout the summer, you've seen a lot of passes by Tyler Shuck getting thrown to the outside, less over the middle. And I think that he's an underrated playmaker overall. Sure, there's a lot of question marks about some of the dumb throws or some dumb decision-making he makes, but you can definitely sit here and say that he's committed to the New Orleans Saints and he's committed to the fan base based off of the things that he's posted on social media, based off of the things he said in press conferences. And I think that a big aspect around him and why he'll be successful is because he's a passionate and strong leader, and that's what this New Orleans Saints team needs, is they need somebody to be a leader. Step up and be the guy and take control of this team. That's something that this team has been lacking since Drew Brees retired, and hopefully Tyler Shuck can be that guy. And again, I will continue to harp on this. If you want to be upset about the pick, that's totally fine. But give the kid a chance. Let's see what this guy is capable of doing, because Tyler Shuck, guess what? He has the same amount of wins as Michael Penix. So does Spencer Rattler, for what it's worth. But my point being, give the kid a chance. Like, we don't know what's going to happen here. Maybe it is bad, but maybe it's good. We haven't even seen him throw a pass against an opposing cornerback. Let's see what he's capable of doing. Let's have some faith in Kellen Moore and see what will happen. Now, what are your expectations for Tyler Shough in his rookie seasons? Do you have high expectations, low expectations? I want to hear from you in the comment section. I also love the move when the Saints brought back Will Clapp, Louisiana legend. Will, do it with me, guys. Will, there you go. For what it's worth, we could have put Kelvin Banks Jr. here on this spot, but I wanted to just kind of give some credit to the Saints for bringing in a smart offensive lineman in free agency. I think that this is solid insurance on the offensive line. Of course, I felt that the offensive tackle position was something that the Saints needed, but I honestly also could have been convinced to go a different route in round one, go get a pass catcher, go get a tight end, go get an edge rusher or corner. Like, I didn't think you needed an offensive tackle at number 9 overall, but obviously the New Orleans Saints opted to draft Kelvin Banks in round 1, and I think that was a really nice selection. But for Will Clapp specifically, I think it's really good insurance for an offensive line that was beat up last year. He can be a high-level backup to Eric McCoy. He can play along the offensive line, and I think that it was a good reunion for the New Orleans Saints. And look, I do think that the Saints need to finish this overhaul. They're far from done building this roster, and they still have a lot of work to do, but I think they're off to a really, really good start. And for what it's worth, Kellen Moore, I believe, has been the right hire. And I think every single day he proves it a little bit more. Look at how the Saints have been operating throughout the summer. They've been having a lot more fun at practices, it seems like. They've been getting involved with the community. Kellen Moore has been very involved within that as well. And I think that he's done a really good job of trying to create and build his own version of the New Orleans Saints. And at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for. It's been the same song and dance for the last, 20 years? Same shit, different title. But now it's time to officially go out with the old, in with the new, and I think Kellen Moore has done a great job ushering in the next generation of New Orleans Saints football. Who Dat Nation? Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe here to Saints Now by Chat Sports. Reminder, if we get 50 subs on this video, I'm shaving this luxurious, absolutely beautiful beard on live on YouTube. So if you want to see that happen, hit the sub button, and y'all stay golden. We will see you next time.